So some of you may have already been familiar with son of Hamas, Mosab Hassan Yousef, the son of a Hamas leader and co-founder before October 7th. But since October 7th, he's become way more mainstream. Many more people have heard him, have heard how he rejects Hamas, supports Israel, and he's offered a lot of moral insight and clarity during the conflict. But I saw this clip that's just come out with Mosab talking to JBS, where he talks about how where he was on October 7th, what happened, and how seeing what an organization that he was raised with, that his family are associated with, how it's affected him on a really profound, deep level. I want to show you what he says because it's really important.
But where were you on October 7th? When did you first hear about what happened? And were you surprised by what happened?
I was actually on a remote island in the middle of the ocean, far, far away, and I heard from the news. At the beginning, I thought it was just another Hamas terrorist attack. It was expected, but I did not realize the magnitude of the attack that was beyond anyone's imagination. It took actually a few days for me to realize what was going on, and I managed to get out of my island and come to the closest city, and I took it from there. And every hour, every day, the shocking footage and news and devastation of Hamas attack, just it kept growing like this. And it wasn't until I watched the entire massacre film when I realized the genocide that took place. Everybody was saying terrorist attack, a massacre, but I saw ethnic cleansing attempt, at least, of 20 Jewish communities. And this is where my life would never be the same.
Since October 7th, it seems, Mosab, that much of the world has conveniently forgotten what happened and has turned the tables and is now only assessing and criticizing and critiquing Israel for what's going on the ground. How do you assess Israel's response, and how do you assess the world's response to Israel's response?
Yes, we are dealing with a very clear case of narrative inversion.
Narrative inversion.
What happened on...
By the way, that is the exact right word. Every accusation leveled at Israel, they are guilty of. Genocide, ethnic cleansing, colonization, apartheid, all these things, they are guilty of exactly what they accuse the other side of. Narrative inversion is exactly the right word.
October 7 was, by all standards, ethnic cleansing. Because Hamas killed people on that day based on their ethnicity, religion, nationality, faith, indiscriminately. In fact, they did not only kill, but they destroyed buildings, they burnt trees, they raped women, they beheaded children, they kidnapped infants, elders. We never witnessed this in our modern history. We saw some Hollywood movies of similar atrocities, and we thought it was exaggerated. But this was streamed live in our modern day. There is nothing that can be compared to that. For example, what happened later, which Hamas invited and opened the gates of hell by taking their own children as human shields. And Israel had no choice but to retaliate, because a world that was not expecting from Israel to do anything about this is a mad world. Because what would be next if you don't do something about it? And the fact that Hamas people hid behind their own children did not make them immune. It's their fault. It's their second or third capital crime. So unfortunately, the world did not want to see Hamas crime of using their own children as human shields. And in war, people die. And what happened was a very clear case, has been a very clear case of a collateral damage, especially when Israel warned civilians, gave them the military plans in advance to evacuate an entire area. So it's a very clear case that this is a war zone, and those are victims of war, collateral damage. In comparison to what happened on October 7, morally inequivalent. We cannot compare both cases. And most people, unfortunately, measure it by the head count. How many people died here and how many people died there? And we say no. It's why the people here died, right, and why the people there died. And this is what can make a big difference.
But Mosab, if students from Columbia University or Harvard University were here, they would say, no, no, no. Hamas is a legitimate resistance movement. And in the name of that legitimate resistance, everything is justified. You know Hamas probably better than just about any person on the planet. What would you say to those students from Harvard and Columbia and elsewhere? Is it a resistance movement?
This is a very similar case of a rapist who's trying to convince the judge that it was an act of love. What is resistance? Even if they claim it's a resistance. Resistance, killing people indiscriminately, kidnapping infants, beheading babies, killing pregnant women, raping, looting, mass destruction, wiping out entire community. What type of resistance are we talking about? And those who play with the terminology, trying to change the narrative and make that the act of October 7 was justified. Those are criminals. They are complicit.
So please.
Yeah, this is completely right. And the fact that there was opposition to Israel at her inception, before she existed, there were pogroms against the Jews in the land. The Arabs have been very, very clear that this is not about national self-determination, because in 48, if it would have been taken over by Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, they wouldn't have cared. The Grand Mufti of the first Palestinian spiritual leader said we'll be part of southern Syria. It's not about resistance. That's a nonsense ploy that has been utilized, that the West has fallen for. But the key point here is that, and the key takeaway from this clip is that we've seen how, for Mosab, can you imagine? He knew how evil Hamas were and he saw what they were doing. But October 7th must have taken it to a whole new level for him. And rather than just kind of turning in on himself and turning away from the world and becoming a shell, he didn't do that. He knew exactly what Hamas were, and he stared the evil of it in the face and told the world exactly what is the case and what is true. And he has a lot of courage for doing that, and I can't imagine that it's easy, and I'm sure it comes with all kind of security concerns, whatever. And there's no doubt that whatever voice he had has been amplified massively, and the attention that he had has been amplified massively since October 7th. But because he knows who Hamas are, and now he saw, perhaps in the most sobering way of all, what it leads to on October 7th, he's felt over these past 9 months that he has a duty, a moral duty, to speak out and tell the world the truth. And I have no doubt that it's been a life-changing year for him. But the Jewish people and anyone around the world that cares about truth and justice salutes Mosab for all he's been doing to share the truth and bring sanity to a world that sometimes is going a little bit insane.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.